The dashcam light blinked red once, then went dark. Rain hit the windshield in slow, heavy drops that blurred the streetlights into amber streaks. Inside the car, the engine idled steady and low. A woman sat in the passenger seat, seatbelt still on, purse on her lap. Her hands were folded, too neatly for the hour, too quietly for what would follow. Her boss sat beside her, one hand on the wheel, the other resting near the keys. The wiper swept once, twice, then stopped. He looked at her. She looked ahead. The camera should have caught everything. The turn signal, the laughter fading, the hesitation before the door opened. But it didn't. The dashcam went black exactly 43 seconds before the argument began. The next frame showed only static. And when it cleared, the passenger seat was empty. He told police he'd dropped her off safely, that she'd waved, thanked him, walked toward her building. He said she was fine, but neighbors didn't see her come home. Her phone never connected to the building Wi-Fi, and the final ping from her location data, time-stamped 11:42 p.m., placed her still inside the car. 3 days later, the dashcam footage surfaced, restored by forensic analysts. It played for exactly 43 missing seconds. What it showed was not what he thought it would. It showed what he'd forgotten. It started like any ordinary Thursday. The kind of evening that hums with fluorescent light and stale coffee, the office air heavy with the smell of printer ink and tired laughter. Her name was Emily Rios, 26, project assistant at Graybridge Analytics, a small firm tucked into the edge of a downtown high-rise where glass walls made everything look clean, efficient, harmless. She'd been there 18 months, long enough to memorize the hum of the vending machine in the break room, the rattle of the elevator when it reached the 21st floor, the particular tone her boss used when he said her name, soft, clipped, never quite casual. His name was Martin Hale, 42, married, 2 children, vice president of operations. Respected, composed, the kind of man who never raised his voice but made rooms fall silent when he spoke. He called her Emily, the way others called her Ms. Rios. He told her once she reminded him of his daughter. Same quiet, same carefulness, but he didn't talk to his daughter late at night in empty offices. That Thursday had been long. A client presentation gone wrong, a deadline pushed again, a winter storm rolling in faster than anyone expected. By 9, most of the staff had gone. Emily stayed behind, reviewing notes on a report that would never carry her name. When she looked up, she saw Martin still at his desk, sleeves rolled, phone face down beside a half-empty mug. He smiled when he caught her glance. Still here? She laughed softly, trying to make sure tomorrow's not a disaster. He nodded, stood, stretched. I owe you dinner after this week, he said. At least a ride home tonight. She hesitated, half-second pause, but the storm outside made her answer easy. Okay, she said. Thank you. That's how the story always begins, with something ordinary enough to ignore. The building's parking garage was nearly empty. Their footsteps echoed between the concrete columns as thunder rolled above, far and close at once. Martin's car waited near the far exit, a gray sedan, washed recently, smelling faintly of leather and mint. He opened the door for her, polite, practiced. Emily slipped inside, her tote bag at her feet. The dashcam light blinked red, recording, as it always did. Rain began the moment they left the garage. Wipers brushed rhythmically across glass, the sound almost soothing. They talked at first about the client, about the storm, about how she missed her old apartment closer to the city. Normal things, said softly, filling the space between them. But every few miles his tone changed. It happened first at a red light. He asked almost casually, You trust me, don't you, Emily? She smiled, confused, polite. Of course, why? He laughed lightly. Good, that's good. The light turned green. She told a coworker the next day she thought nothing of it. That was before she vanished. Martin's version later would be clean, linear, precise. They left the office at 9:17. He dropped her at her apartment complex at 10:04. She thanked him, stepped out, and walked toward the lobby. He watched her go, then drove home. His wife remembered him coming in after 10, shaking off rain, saying nothing unusual, but there were small cracks, tiny, measurable ones between his words and the record, the Dashcam cut out at 9:43 cell. Tower logs placed the car 10 miles from her address at 9:51, and no camera near her building caught her arrival. The next morning, her coworker, Nina Patel, texted her at 8:12. "Did you make it home okay last night?" Roads were wild, no reply. By noon, Nina called. Straight to voicemail. She left work early, walked to Emily's apartment. The hallway smelled faintly of damp carpet and detergent. The door was locked, lights off inside. A package sat at her doorstep. Time-stamped 7:30 a.m., a delivery she never picked up. Nina waited 2 more hours before calling police. By sunset, 2 officers stood outside Martin Hale's office asking routine questions. He greeted them calmly, shaking hands. "I heard she didn't show up today. Terrible. Of course I gave her a ride. It was awful weather. They asked if they could see the dashcam footage. Of course," he said. "You'll see it's nothing." He was right, at first. The video showed a smooth drive, streetlights reflected in wet asphalt, 2 quiet silhouettes. At 9:43, the screen froze, then black. They asked if the camera had malfunctioned before. He said no. They asked if he'd noticed anything strange. He said no. They asked if he'd mind them taking the device. He smiled. "Not at all, please." He signed the consent form without hesitation. The first contradiction appeared that same evening when detectives reviewed the footage frame by frame. At 9:42:57, the reflection in the passenger side window shifted. It wasn't lightning. It wasn't passing light. It was a hand, pressing against the glass from the outside. Then the screen went dark. Detective Lena Morales, the lead on the case, noticed something else. A faint sound, barely audible before the static. 3 syllables, spoken softly, fast, like a warning. The forensic team isolated the clip, cleaned it up. It was Emily's voice. She said, "He's still here. They played it for Martin." He blinked, confused. "I have no idea what that means." Morales watched his hands as he spoke. No tremor, no visible pulse. Still, she wrote in her notes, "Over-controlled." Back at the office, co-workers recalled small things. How Emily's demeanor had changed in recent weeks. More careful, quieter when he was around. How she once flinched when his hand brushed her shoulder. How she began leaving her phone on record during late meetings. One employee remembered seeing her talking to someone in the parking lot days before the storm. Not Martin. A man in a black hoodie, face hidden by rain. He said she looked frightened, and that she kept repeating one phrase, "It's not what he thinks it is." Police searched Martin's car. The seats were spotless, detailed, vacuumed recently. But beneath the passenger mat, lodged deep in the seam of the floorboard, they found a single gold earring back. Emily's sister identified it immediately. It matched the pair she wore to work that night. Martin said she might have dropped it earlier that week. Morales wrote in her notes again, "No prior rides confirmed." As the storm cleared, search teams combed the riverbanks and highways. No trace, no phone, no wallet, no sign of struggle. Then 3 days later, a cyclist found something along the service road leading out of the city. A purse soaked through, contents scattered. ID intact. Everything was there except the phone. In the side pocket, something small and cold. A dashcam memory card. It didn't match the one taken from Martin's car. When investigators loaded the card, they discovered it contained only 43 seconds of footage. The missing time. The file name wasn't random. It was titled, "Don't Forget Me." And what it showed would unravel everything Martin thought he remembered. The road out of downtown shimmered under the rain. 1,000 blurred reflections flowing beneath streetlights. Inside the car, the air was warm, music low. Emily's voice rose and fell with the rhythm of conversation. Soft, uncertain, never confrontational. Martin's tone was smooth, professional at first. He talked about upcoming projects, about promotions, about how the company noticed her dedication. He was charming in the way men who believe they're safe can be. But charm always has a hinge, something that creaks when pushed too far. Traffic thinned past the viaduct. They were alone now, just the wipers and the hum of tires. Emily stared out the window, eyes unfocused, the city receding behind them. He asked about her weekend plans. She mentioned visiting her sister. He smiled. "She's the one with the art degree, right? The one who doesn't think much of office people?" Emily laughed once softly. She thinks too much of everyone. He nodded, keeping his eyes on the road. But the smile didn't reach them. Outside, the rain softened to mist. The sound of the engine filled the space between them. Then, almost casually, he said, "You know, I don't think people appreciate loyalty anymore." She turned her head slightly. "Loyalty?" He glanced at her, still smiling. "Yes, being where you belong. Not chasing every shiny thing. Staying with people who believe in you." She didn't answer. The dashboard light caught the edge of her jawline, pale and tense. When she finally spoke, it was quiet. "Martin, could you take the freeway? It's faster." He didn't. He turned left instead, down a service road running parallel to the highway. "I know a shortcut," he said. Less traffic. The wipers dragged slower now, streaking water across the glass. Her reflection appeared faintly in the window, eyes wide, fixed on the passing dark. The GPS on his phone rerouted twice, voice repeating, recalculating route. "Turn back when possible." He muted it. The dashcam's red light blinked steadily, recording everything. At 9:31, they passed an old way station long out of use. A delivery truck sat abandoned behind it, taillights off, the shell of a world left empty. The rain began again. Harder this time. Martin's hand rested on the steering wheel. He said, "It's strange, isn't it? How some people only notice you when you're gone." She looked at him, confused. "What do you mean?" He shrugged, just thinking aloud. Later, when detectives reconstructed this route, they found something odd. The car's onboard system showed the driver's side door opening twice within a single minute. Once at 9:42:11, again at 9:42:58. The vehicle never stopped moving. That minute became the 43 seconds missing from the dash cam. At 9:40, Emily texted her sister. Just 3 words. "Almost home now." The message never sent. No service in that stretch of road. The recovered footage begins just before that. The car slows near a bend, headlights cutting through dense rain. Emily reaches into her purse, glancing at her phone. Martin leans forward slightly, eyes on the shoulder of the road. Something flickers past the camera. White cloth, movement. The dashcam's light blinks twice. The audio captures a faint sound. Metal tapping glass. "Did you see that?" Emily asks. Martin glances over, unfazed. Probably a tarp. But she keeps looking back, peering through the rear window. Her breathing quickens. "No, I think it was someone." Then static. When the feed resumes, the interior light is different, dim yellow, the car at a standstill. Rain echoes louder now, drumming against the roof. Emily's seatbelt is off, her door slightly open. Martin's hands are gripping the steering wheel, knuckles pale. He says something under his breath. The microphone catches fragments. "She's not. Can't just leave." The sound of fabric shifting. A door shutting. Silence. Then 43 seconds later, the recording returns, engine idling, passenger seat empty. Investigators built those seconds like a puzzle. Each frame, each fragment of ambient sound reconstructed in forensic software. What they found were ghostly outlines of motion. 2 blurred figures, one leaning forward, one recoiling. A shape in the back window, almost human, moving toward the car. Analysts debated whether it was a reflection, rain distortion, or someone actually outside. But one frame froze them all. At 9:43:22, the dashcam captured an arm pressed against the passenger glass from inside. Fingers splayed, palm facing outward as if reaching for air, then black. Martin's version never changed. "She wanted to stop," he said. "She said she wasn't feeling well. I pulled over. She stepped out for air. I waited. She walked away. I didn't follow." Detective Morales asked why he didn't call her after she disappeared. He said he didn't want to make it look inappropriate. She asked if she'd seemed upset before leaving. He said, "No, she was fine." But the dashcam microphone had recorded something else entirely, just before the blackout. Emily's voice rising in panic. "Don't touch me." Those words never appeared in the official transcript. The police report only said inaudible exchange. 3 hours later, a traffic camera on the same route captured Martin's car heading home. No passenger. No visible damage, but the system's thermal scanner picked up something faint on the back seat. A residual heat signature from a human body. The timestamp, 9:59 p.m. Emily's phone would later ping once at 10:02 from a cell tower less than a mile from Martin's house. Then nothing. When questioned, Martin said she must have called a ride from nearby. Investigators found no evidence of that. No Uber, no Lyft, no taxi dispatch record. Just her phone, silent, battery dead by morning. The storm subsided overnight, leaving the air heavy with the smell of wet asphalt and ozone. By dawn, the car sat in his driveway, clean except for faint streaks across the rear bumper. When his wife asked about them, he said, "Tree sap." That same morning, a local road worker reported finding tire tracks leading from the service road down toward the creek. The mud showed one set going in, none coming out. At the end of those tracks, a single shoe, pale leather, size 7. It matched the pair Emily wore. When police divers searched the creek, they found no body. But they did find something wedged beneath a log, the missing dashcam housing. The screws were intact. The memory card slot was empty. That night, forensic teams visited Martin's home again. They asked to check his garage. He agreed. Inside, the floor gleamed. Fresh epoxy coating, still faintly chemical. A dark patch near the drain had been scraped but not fully cleaned. Tests later confirmed traces of synthetic fabric, the same blend as the lining of Emily's work coat. He denied knowing how it got there. Reporters circled the story like vultures. The missing assistant, the respectable boss, the rainstorm, the dash cam that didn't record what it should have. But inside those details hid smaller truths, the things no one printed. The neighbor who saw Martin pacing outside his garage after midnight. The trash collector who remembered a heavy bag dripping, tossed into the wrong bin. The maintenance worker who found a gold hoop caught in the grate at the end of the cul-de-sac. Every clue was small enough to overlook. Every silence large enough to drown in. Then came the breakthrough. A data recovery specialist hired by the police restored the corrupted seconds from the found memory card. When the footage stabilized, it didn't show violence, it showed confession. Martin's voice low, shaking. "I didn't mean to. You have to believe me. Please, just get in the car. No one has to know." Her reply, "You already made sure no one will." Then a muffled sound, metal hitting metal, a door slamming. And the recording ended. Those 43 seconds turned the case from disappearance to homicide. But the question remained, where was she? And if Martin was guilty, why did the recovered file end with his own voice whispering something only the dead should hear? "I'm sorry, Emily. I thought the camera was off." Detective Lena Morales sat alone in the evidence room, the hum of the fluorescent lights slicing through the quiet. In front of her, the recovered dashcam feed looped again and again, frozen on its final frame. The passenger seat empty, windshield soaked in streaks of rain. She'd seen worse footage before. Violence, chaos, aftermath. But this one felt different, not because of what it showed, but because of what it didn't. By the end of that week, the case file was over 300 pages thick. Witness statements, phone logs, search warrants, forensic reports, each piece adding weight but not clarity. Martin Hale maintained his calm. He cooperated fully, gave interviews, submitted his car for a second forensic sweep. He was intelligent enough to seem transparent, methodical enough to erase his own fingerprints without leaving emptiness behind. Morales had worked too many cases to be impressed by clean surfaces. "Perfection," she said to her partner, "is just dirt you haven't found yet." They began with the digital trail. Emily's phone, recovered from the creek days later, was waterlogged but not destroyed. Its motherboard, dried and resoldered, still held fragments of her last hours. The text unsent to her sister. A deleted audio recording just 38 seconds long. When they restored it, they heard rain, faint breathing, and the echo of a car door closing. Then her voice, trembling but steady. "If something happens to me, tell Nina he's not who he says he is." Then a pause, and the sound of the same soft, rhythmic tapping heard on the dashcam, metal against glass. The timestamp placed the recording at 9:42 p.m., exactly when the dashcam went dark. Investigators reconstructed Martin's route using GPS pings from his car's telematics system. The data revealed subtle inconsistencies. His story placed him on Westbrook Avenue at 9:50. The car, however, registered a stop 3 miles east, at the edge of a construction site long abandoned. When they visited the area, they found tire impressions in hardened mud and a patch of disturbed earth near a drainage ditch. Cadaver dogs alerted twice. No body. But buried 12 inches deep, they found her work ID, cracked down the middle. Morales brought Martin in for questioning again. This time she didn't bring evidence. She brought silence. He spoke first, of course. He always did. I told you everything. I'm not hiding anything. She asked to get out. Morales leaned back. You're sure? Yes. You watched her walk away? Yes. Toward the building? Yes. She let the pause hang. Which building? He blinked once. Her apartment. She nodded slowly. And where is her apartment? He stared at her, confused. On 83rd, near the river. Morales slid a map across the table. Then why did your car stop 15 miles from there? For the first time, he had no answer. That night, detectives obtained a warrant for his phone. Within its backups, they found deleted messages to an unknown number labeled only E9:18 p.m. Leaving now. She's in the car. 9:44 p.m. Problem. Fixing it. The number traced back to a prepaid device purchased 2 weeks prior. Cameras at the store showed a woman buying it. Hooded, small-framed, face obscured. The timestamp, 8:01 p.m. 45 minutes before Martin and Emily left the office. Morales began to suspect something larger. Maybe Martin wasn't acting alone. Maybe the missing footage wasn't corruption. It was intervention. Forensic analysts revisited the Dashcam hardware. The camera had a remote override feature, accessible through Bluetooth within 5 meters. Someone near the car could have paused, deleted, or rewritten footage in real time. The question wasn't just who, but how did they know when? 2 days later, an unmarked envelope arrived at the precinct. Inside a USB drive labeled Truth. No fingerprints, no return address. Morales connected it to a secure system. A single file played, a clean, uncut version of the Dashcam recording. This one didn't end at 43 seconds. It continued. The missing footage began with the sound of rain intensifying, followed by Emily whispering, "Please don't." A door creaked open. Then another voice entered, a third-person male, quiet but firm. "Martin, it's done. Let's go." Then the sound of footsteps retreating, a car door closing, and silence. When the feed resumed, Martin was alone. He denied knowing the voice. But Morales knew it. She'd heard it before, years earlier, on a recorded testimony from a fraud investigation involving Graybridge Analytics. A contractor had embezzled company funds, fled overseas, then disappeared entirely. His name was Ethan Hale, Martin's younger brother. The discovery cracked the case open. Records showed Ethan had resurfaced under a new identity, working as a subcontractor for the same company, quietly, remotely, in data management. He'd been hired by Martin himself. The phone registered to E matched the pattern of numbers Ethan used when setting up encrypted devices for corporate clients. It was now clear. Someone else had been with them that night. Someone who never appeared on camera. Morales dug into Ethan's file. 3 prior arrests for fraud, 1 for stalking, none resulting in conviction. His last known address, an auto repair warehouse on the east side. When officers searched it, they found a small workshop filled with dismantled electronics, hard drives, cameras, dash cams. On the table lay one device still powered. It displayed looping footage of a car's interior. Not Martin's, Emily's. A hidden camera she'd installed herself weeks earlier, inside the lining of her tote bag. The footage spanned multiple nights, late office drives, empty parking lots, quiet conversations where Martin's tone shifted from paternal to possessive. He complimented her clothes, her voice, her professionalism. Then, one night, he touched her wrist. She flinched. He laughed it off, every frame time-stamped, every clip saved. She'd been gathering evidence, and she'd told someone. The audio log on her phone contained a note saved in drafts. He's paranoid now. Keeps asking where I go after work. I think someone's watching him too. Under it, a contact number, Ethan. She hadn't written his last name. Just, he says he can help me. Morales pieced it together like a broken mirror, each fragment cutting deeper. Emily, realizing Martin's behavior was escalating, had turned to someone she believed could protect her. Ethan Hale, a man who promised to monitor her boss remotely, to keep evidence safe. But Ethan was no savior. He was feeding Martin's paranoia, whispering that Emily was recording him, that she planned to expose them both. On the night of the storm, Martin drove her out of the city. Ethan followed in another car. When the argument started, Ethan intervened. The dashcam captured his voice but not his face. They thought the camera was off. The confession didn't come easily. It never does. Martin broke 2 weeks later, not in an interrogation room but in his own home, kneeling on the garage floor beside an envelope addressed to Morales. Inside it, a handwritten note. He said it was just to scare her. I thought he'd take her home. I thought she was still breathing. They found him hours later unresponsive, carbon monoxide thick in the air, no pulse. The letter ended with one line. He told me the camera would prove I wasn't lying. Ethan Hale vanished again. Interpol flagged movement under 3 aliases. None confirmed. But 1 month later, in a border town motel, a local officer found a burned-out rental car. Inside, a melted phone battery, a flash drive fused to its casing. When technicians extracted the fragments, they recovered one file name, Last Drive. It matched the dashcam system ID from Martin's car. The flash drive labeled Last Drive took 3 days to decode. When the technicians finally extracted it, the file list looked ordinary. Timestamps, short clips, metadata. But one folder had no name. Just a single underscore inside were videos that shouldn't have existed. Alternate versions of the dashcam feed, each one slightly different. In the first, the car moves as it did before. In the second, the same drive unfolds with minor distortions. The angle off by degrees, colors too warm, voices half a beat late. In the third, Emily never speaks at all, every sound replaced by rain. Someone had rewritten reality frame by frame. Detective Morales watched the files in silence, her reflection caught in the monitor. Each iteration erased something, a word, a breath, a blink, until the truth thinned into suggestion. Why alter it unless you're hiding a moment that matters? She murmured. Her forensic analyst, Grant Vega, leaned closer. Look at the metadata. The files shared identical timestamps, yet different device signatures. He traced one signature to Ethan Hale's workshop equipment. Another, older, to a government-issued camera once registered to a surveillance contract under Graybridge Analytics Security Division. Morales felt the first chill of comprehension. This wasn't just a cover-up. It was a system built for it. The full uncorrupted file began at 9:42 p.m., the same minute every version glitched. The car stopped on a deserted stretch near the construction site. Rain softened, wind still. Emily turned toward Martin, her voice clear now. You told him to follow me. Martin's reply came low, defensive. He just wanted to make sure you were safe. Safe from what? From you? He gripped the steering wheel. Don't say that. Not like that. Outside, headlights swept across the car as another vehicle slowed behind them. Ethan's. The dashcam microphone caught the engine door open, heavy boots on gravel. Then Ethan's voice, rougher, colder than before. We're done here. She's seen enough. Martin turned in panic. Wait, no, a thud, a cry. The camera shifted violently, showing only rain and motion blur. Then silence. For 7 seconds, the image stabilized. Emily struggling against a seatbelt, door half open. Ethan's hand pulled her backward. Martin shouted something indecipherable. And then the frame froze. Emily's face turned toward the dashcam, eyes wide, lips parting on a breath. A flash. White light washed the screen. When the picture returned, the passenger seat was empty. Ethan climbed into the driver's side, glancing once toward the lens. Delete it, he said, and the feed went black. When the lights returned in the evidence lab, Morales exhaled slowly. She'd expected brutality, not precision. This wasn't rage. It was orchestration. Graybridge Analytics had contracted its own security monitoring years earlier through a subsidiary called Aegis Capture Solutions, specializing in fleet observation technology. Ethan Hale was one of its developers. He hadn't destroyed the evidence. He'd edited it. The entire system was built with a backdoor, one that let him rewrite any recording within a certain window of time, splicing memory to match narrative. He could make a man innocent on screen while guilt thrived outside the frame. Morales assembled her team. We've been chasing a killer, she said, but we've been walking through his invention. They raided Graybridge's servers that night. Inside, terabytes of mirrored footage, car interiors, office surveillance, private test environments. Thousands of files scrubbed clean of their original audio. One labeled Client Training Demo 04. When opened, it showed a clip of Martin Hale rehearsing a scenario, an employee confrontation, staged for stress response calibration. Ethan coached off camera. They laughed after every take. The timestamp was a month before Emily's death. At 2 a.m., Morales stood outside the evidence vault, phone pressed to her ear. An anonymous number again. Static hissed. Then a voice she hadn't heard in weeks. Ethan. You're getting close, detective, but you'll never find her if you keep looking for a body. Where is she? She's in every file you opened. Every one you thought you restored. What did you do? A soft laugh. Nothing you wouldn't do for control. The line clicked dead. When technicians re-examined the flash drive afterward, they found it had begun rewriting itself, overwriting sectors every time it was accessed, embedding fragments of new data over the old. In one recovered frame, a woman's silhouette appeared, hair wet, face turned toward the lens. Not Emily, but not entirely unlike her. The revelation came from an unexpected source. Emily's sister, Sophia, called the precinct saying she'd received an email from her sister's address, 3 weeks after her disappearance. Subject line, Backup 2. Inside was a single link to cloud storage, encrypted but traceable. The IP origin matched the Graybridge internal network. The video opened with Emily speaking directly to camera, recorded days before the storm. If you're seeing this, they already know. Ethan says this will keep me safe. I don't believe him anymore. She paused, steadying her breath. Martin thinks I'm recording him, but Ethan's recording us both. He wants leverage. If anything happens to me, it won't be an accident. She reached forward, covering the lens. Find the truth in the reflections. It's always in the reflections. The clip ended. Morales replayed that phrase, in the reflections, again and again. Then she realized what she'd missed. The original dashcam footage captured not only the road ahead but faint reflections on the windshield, mirrors within mirrors. When image analysts inverted the exposure, hidden layers appeared. The outline of a second car running parallel on the left, headlights masked by the rain, recording everything from its own angle. They traced the lens flare to a specific model, an Aegis prototype with twin polarization filters. Only 3 ever produced. 1 registered to Ethan, the second to Graybridge's training fleet. The third, location unknown until they examined, the metadata from Backup 2. Its device ID matched the missing third camera. Emily had taken it. She had planned to expose both men that night to force confrontation, record confession, and the loop of intimidation and manipulation. But she underestimated their desperation. The footage she left behind wasn't accidental. It was proof deliberately hidden in plain sight, encoded in the distortion of her own reflection. And the greatest twist of all, the woman who vanished on camera may never have died there. Forensic reanalysis of the thud heard mid-recording found no biological trace, no blood, no tissue, only the hollow resonance of metal on metal. A trunk closing. The weight distribution in the car afterward changed, not from a body but from an added device. A second dashcam. Her dashcam. Ethan had built a system that could rewrite sight. But Emily had learned how to use it first. The last full uncorrupted frame showed her eyes staring into the lens, rain streaking down the glass like silver veins. Behind her reflection, another image flickered. An open field, distant headlights, movement. Analysts enhanced it until clarity returned. A figure running through rain, clutching something small, glowing red. A camera light, Emily, alive. The file ended there, mid-stride. Morales closed the report herself. The case file would list victim presumed deceased, but she never called it that. In her notes, she wrote, Subject engineered her own disappearance to expose system corruption. Outcome unknown. She never stopped checking mirrors after that. Never trusted recordings, because every screen might lie, and every lie might still breathe somewhere behind the pixels. Morning crept over the city like a bruise. Soft gray light bleeding through mist, everything damp, quiet, changed. Detective Morales stood at the edge of the drainage field where Emily's reflection had last appeared. The ground smelled of wet iron and clay. The creak still murmured through broken reeds, pulling at the past with gentle insistence. It had been 4 months since the file called Last Drive surfaced, 2 since Martin's death, and 3 weeks since the forensic team confirmed what she already suspected. No remains, no definitive end, only fragments, voices, and mirrors. Publicly, the case closed as a presumed homicide with unresolved body recovery. The press, starved for simplicity, wrote its own ending. Boss kills assistant, covers tracks with brother's help. Dashcam deception exposes tech-fueled murder. Corporate scandal erupts as Graybridge faces investigation. But the truth was never that clean. The dashcam wasn't deception, it was design. The death wasn't certain, it was assumption. And Emily wasn't simply gone, she was everywhere. Graybridge Analytics collapsed under the weight of its secrets. Federal auditors uncovered years of buried contracts, surveillance patents, and compliance experiments. Executives resigned. 2 were indicted for obstruction. Within weeks, anonymous data leaks flooded online. Hours of unedited footage from security vehicles, revealing how easily stories could be rewritten, every altered video, every error, every missing second traced back to one algorithm, coded by Ethan Hale. He became a ghost inside his own architecture, flickering in the metadata of systems he once controlled. Interpol believed he was alive, operating under new aliases in Eastern Europe. But Morales wasn't sure anymore whether Ethan was a person still, or just the machine he left behind. For Emily's family, closure never came. Her sister Sophia refused to hold a funeral. She kept a candle burning by the window instead every night, rain or shine. "I don't light it for mourning," she told Morales once. "I light it so she can find her way back." The detective didn't answer. She didn't believe in ghosts. But some nights, when the city fell silent enough, she imagined she could hear the hum of rain on glass, the faint static of a dash cam rebooting itself, as if the story still wasn't done. Months later, a parcel arrived at the precinct. No name, no return address, just a small waterproof case and a flash drive inside. The postmark, Marseille, France. The drive contained a single file. No date, no signature. It opened to the sound of waves. Then a woman's voice, calm, steady, unmistakably Emily's. "You can stop looking for me now." They wanted a ghost. I gave them one. The camera doesn't lie, it just tells the version we feed it. "This is mine." The image appeared, a coastline, early dawn. A reflection of a woman filming herself in the window of a cafe. Short hair, tired eyes, alive. She smiled once faintly. The truth was never the footage. It was who controlled the edit. Then the screen went black. Morales watched it alone in the evidence room, lights off. Outside, thunder rolled across the skyline. When the video ended, she closed her notebook and stared at the single sentence Emily had spoken months earlier, etched now into the case file. Find the truth in the reflections. It meant more now. Not just a clue. An indictment of belief. How easily humans surrendered their trust to lenses, to recordings, to things that remember for them. How easily they forgot that memory, too, could be programmed. After the Graybridge scandal, new laws passed restricting surveillance modification. Corporations were forced to disclose recording systems, to certify authenticity through independent chains of custody. But the real consequence was quieter, subtler, a cultural unease that crept into every office, every car, every space once thought private. People covered cameras with tape. They stopped believing every viral video. They learned to doubt the neatness of visual truth. And somewhere in that doubt, Emily's legacy lived on, an unseen defiance woven through skepticism. Morales retired the following spring. She left the city behind, moved to a small coastal town where rain came in slow curtains and silence didn't echo. But she kept one piece of evidence, a still frame from the recovered dashcam. The one showing Emily's reflection in the windshield, eyes fixed forward, a faint red light glowing in her palm. She framed it above her desk, not as proof of life or death, but as reminder. Even in the smallest captured moment, the truth hides behind what we choose to see. One evening, months into her quiet life, she noticed something strange. During a storm, the power flickered, and her old laptop, one she'd used during the case, booted on by itself. A notification blinked on the screen. External feed detected. Then a window opened showing live footage. Her own reflection, blurred through the webcam. The same faint hum of static filled the room. On the screen, text began to appear, typed one letter at a time. "Hello? Lena." She froze. Another line followed. "Stop looking behind you." She turned anyway. Nothing. Only the sound of rain. When she faced the screen again, the message was gone. In its place, a paused frame. A woman walking along a rainy street. Camera in hand, face turned away. The red light on the device blinked once, twice, then faded. Later, when Morales examined the log file, she found that the source signal originated not from any active network, but from a local cache, an unplayed portion of the last drive data, as if it had been waiting to activate, as if someone, or something, had left one last message encoded inside. She shut the laptop, unplugged it, and left it on the porch under the rain until morning. By dawn, the device was ruined. But in the final moments before it shorted, the dashcam's lens flared faintly, capturing a last reflection, her own face, framed by light, the official record of Case File 417B. Emily Carter ends there. Status unresolved and closed, but unofficially the story never stopped moving. Because it was never just about a disappearance or a murder or a dashcam. It was about the distance between what's recorded and what's real, and how the living fill that gap with belief, guilt, or hope. In the end, the resort, the rain, the empty passenger seat, the broken dashcam, all dissolve into the same image, a woman stepping out of a car under streetlight rain, walking away without turning back, her reflection lingering just a moment longer than her body. Then, a blink, a pause, silence, and somewhere, in a looped recording no one will ever see, the camera light turns red again. Waiting, listening, remembering.